From Washington, this is VOA News. Hello, I'm Steve Miller. The 2017 Nobel Peace Prize has been awarded, and Lisa Schlein has that story.
Winner of this year's Nobel Peace Prize, the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, says it is honored to be recognized for the work it has done to open a pathway to a nuclear-free world. The group, a coalition of non-governmental organizations in 100 countries, was instrumental in bringing to fruition the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. ICAN's singular achievement, the Nuclear Ban Treaty, was adopted July 7th by 122 countries. Lisa Schlein for VOA News, Geneva.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders declined to elaborate on the cryptic message President Donald Trump made on Thursday evening.
You guys know what this represents? Well, maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storming?
Could be the calm before the storm.
Sanders said,
"We're never going to say in advance what the president's going to do. And as he said last night, in addition to those comments, you'll have to wait and see."
She also denied that Trump was simply being mischievous in an effort to mislead reporters. Las Vegas Undersheriff Kevin McHale said that authorities have chased down more than 1,000 leads following the mass shooting that left 58 people dead and more than 500 injured.
While some of it has helped create a better profile into the madness of this suspect, we do not still have a clear motive or reason why.
McMahill said they looked into the economic and political motives of Stephen Paddock, but still haven't been able to determine the shooter's motives. This is VOA News. Bangladesh on Thursday announced it would build one of the world's largest refugee camps to house all of the 800,000-plus Rohingya Muslims who have sought asylum from violence in Myanmar. The arrival of more than 500,000 Rohingya Muslims from Buddhist-dominated Myanmar since August 25th has put an immense strain on camps in Bangladesh, where there are growing fears of a disease epidemic. Peter Meyer, the head of the Norwegian Red Cross, is in the area and working with Bangladeshi partners to treat those who need it.
So we're here to set up a field hospital for approximately 100 patients for the time being. That means inpatients with beds. And we're going to offer health service for the population in the region.
The United Nations has praised Bangladesh's extraordinary spirit of generosity in opening up its borders. But UNICEF Chief Anthony Lake and UN Emergency Relief Coordinator Mark Lowcock said in an appeal for $430 million to provide aid that the needs of the Rohingya are growing at a faster pace than our ability to meet them. Police fired tear gas at opposition activists in Kenya's capital Friday. Andrew Palczewski has the story.
Protests mounted in cities Friday, calling for the sacking of election board officials involved in August's canceled presidential vote. Crowds gathered in Nairobi, the western opposition stronghold of Kisumu, and the port of Mombasa for the second time this week. Kenya's Supreme Court voided the August 8th election, citing irregularities without finding any individual at the election board responsible. With 3 weeks to go until a scheduled rerun of the vote, politicians from both sides have traded insults and accusations. The opposition is threatening to boycott the October 26th rerun if election board officials are not removed, and if Parliament passes a proposed amendment to the election law that would prevent the Supreme Court from annulling the results again. Andrew Palczewski, VOA News.
U.S. Ambassador to Turkey John Bass is criticizing the arrest of a local U.S. consulate employee in Istanbul. He said it was motivated by revenge rather than justice on the part of elements within the Turkish government. Bass made the comments Friday in the case of Metin Topuz, who has been taken into custody Wednesday on terrorism charges. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is increasingly using his rhetoric accusations of foreign conspiracy against his government and country. Tropical storm Nate gained force as it sped toward Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula Friday after drenching Central America in rain that was blamed for at least 21 deaths. Forecasters said it was likely to reach the U.S. Gulf Coast as a hurricane over the weekend. Evacuations in some offshore oil platforms in the Gulf have started. Be sure to point your web browser to voanews.com. I'm Steve Miller in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.